Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here, welcome to See Mini Mom. Today I'm going to share with you 7 things that were busting our grocery budget, so stay tuned. All right, you guys, just a couple of caveats before I jump into this video. First off, this is not meant to be a judgment on anybody else's standards when it comes to buying groceries. Everybody kind of has to decide for themselves the places in their budget where they're going to spend and the places where they're going to save. I have also mentioned multiple times that sometimes you have to decide what's worth more to you, your time or your money, your convenience or your money. There's so many things that come into play when you're deciding how to budget your money. And there are other things that we aren't necessarily in control of, like where we live and what the prices are for the products that we're purchasing. So please keep that in mind as we jump into this video, that I'm just sharing these tips and tricks from my own perspective and my own experiences, and hopefully there's something here that could help you out. Groceries actually fall into a category that we call consumables, which is predominantly everything that is consumable in the household and then has to be repurchased. Our consumables budget does include paper goods, it includes toiletries, it includes cleaning products. It does not include eating out or alcohol, because those purchases we tend to take from another category that we call recreation or entertainment. So I was just thinking the other day about how much I feel like my purchase patterns have changed, and I thought I would just share with you some of the things that I have discovered that help us kind of keep that budget under control and in the spot where we're comfortable. Leave me a comment and let me know what has busted your grocery budget in the past. No judgment, certainly not coming from me, because it's a work in progress for our family as well. And some of these are things that we're still working on or that still kind of creep into our lifestyle that I have to put into check. But here are 7 things that have busted our grocery budget in the past. Number 1 is buying name brand. You guys know that I am a big fan of generics, especially if you watch my grocery hauls. I actually had a recent video that did pretty well that was comparing generic house brands from 3 different stores. I will leave that linked up here in the corner if you are interested. But that wasn't always the case for us, and there are still a few places where we are brand loyal. But for the most part, I do try to buy the generic house brand wherever I can, because typically speaking, it is less money than the name brand. I find that this is easier to do though now that I am cooking with much simpler ingredients, because I find that the simpler or shorter the ingredient list is, the less likely it is to vary in taste or texture from the name brand. For instance, Oreos are something that we are still name brand loyal to. It's not a treat that we have in the house very often, but when we do buy chocolate sandwich cookies, they're gonna be Oreo name brand. That's because I think that that's, a more complicated processed food, and the taste and texture is so singular that it's really difficult to emulate in a house brand. But this is a can of tomatoes, and the ingredients are tomatoes, tomato juice, and salt. This can of green beans, the ingredients are just green beans and water. Another place where our grocery budget was busted from time to time was in the purchase of convenience foods. So ready-made frozen dinners, ready-made soups, the kinds of things that when I take the time to actually prepare them from scratch with simple ingredients in my household tend to come out for less than it does to actually buy them already prepared. So these frozen dinners used to be a staple in my diet whenever I was first teaching. I would take them in my lunch. And while some of them are pretty reasonable as far as the cost goes, some of them can even be less than $2, I can still make them for less than that. And some of them tend to get a little pricier, especially as you get into the ones that are slightly larger, that have meat, the pizzas especially. I actually save a lot of money now by making these kinds of things from scratch, by making soups with simple ingredients that I have, by doing lunch preps and breakfast preps at home with ingredients that I can purchase at the store for less money. But again, sometimes our convenience is worth more to us than our money, and that's okay. And if you are in a place where you can afford to buy those things, and if it's going to help you to stick with a specific nutrition plan, or you need that maybe to keep from going through the drive-thru and spending even more money, then I totally understand. Another place where our grocery budget gets busted is in the purchase of pre-portioned snacks. Now, I bought 2 boxes of these because it's my son's turn to bring snacks to school, and they are very particular about what they can bring. It has to be a pre-portioned, pre-packaged snack. It cannot have peanut butter. There are all kinds of different parameters that they provide for us. So I had an Ibotta rebate for these, and that's why I ended up getting these for him to take. But this kind of stuff, the pre-portioned crackers and snacks and chips and treats, it's not something I keep in my own personal pantry very often. That's not to say that my kids don't eat snacks, but a lot of the stuff they eat for snacks is stuff that they they eat for meals. Peanut butter sandwiches or peanut butter waffles, bowls of cereal, tortilla and cream cheese roll-ups, yogurt parfaits, fruit. We tend to keep those kinds of things. And when it comes to processed snacks, the only two things that I would say are common in my pantry almost all the time are pretzels and graham crackers. But even those, I buy the standard size package and I just put them in containers that the kids can then get their portion out of. So while we still do use these in a pinch and purchase them occasionally, like in this case to send them to my son's classroom for his snack day, but for the most part, we just buy the standard size packages of any kind of snack foods if we're even purchasing those things, because like I said, I prefer that the kids actually have a small meal as opposed to like a snack cracker or chip. The next item is supplements. This might come as a shock, but I actually do not take a multivitamin. I have had to be very careful about that in the past because I am kind of sensitive to certain things, and there are some vitamins or supplements that can mess with other medications that I take, so I just don't take one. If my doctor ever recommended it to me, I would be happy to pick one up, but he never has, and all of my blood work has always come back really great, so I just depend on getting vitamins and minerals primarily from my food. Now, I have in the past purchased protein powders and protein bars. I have not purchased protein bars in ages, specifically since a particular falling out with a certain protein bar company, which some of you guys will know about and remember, but otherwise, I just don't use it as much in my nutrition anymore, and it ends up going to waste. For instance, I found this Quest protein powder in the back of my pantry. I probably haven't used this in over a year, and in looking at the ingredient list, that's probably because I noticed it has carrageenan and sucralose, and those are two ingredients that I can't be sure, but I feel like they kind of irritate my stomach, or at least it correlates to some stomach issues whenever I take in products that have those ingredients. But this canister is still basically half full, and it expired almost a year ago, so I actually haven't used it for that amount of time, but it's just gonna have to go into the trash can, and I know that it was probably $25 to $30 for this. This one is a simpler, sort of cleaner protein powder, but I've had it for almost a year, and even though it doesn't expire for 6 months, I just find that I don't use it. I don't use this in my cooking. I don't make as many smoothies. I probably will try to use this some in the coming months just so I can feel like I didn't waste my money. I also purchased a case of Iconic protein over the summer. It has been about 5 to 6 months since I made that purchase. More than half of that case is still sitting in my garage refrigerator with our other beverages. I hardly ever use it. And another thing is this collagen powder, which I was using daily in my coffee, but I think I'm not going to use this anymore. And I was getting a fairly good deal on it by using some coupons at CVS, but honestly, even with the coupons, it was costing me like $10 or $15 a canister, and that lasted me about 3 to 4 weeks. And ultimately, based on what I'm reading about it and talking with a nutritionist about it, I'm just not sold on the research yet, and I don't really know if it's helping me that much, so I can't really justify the cost anymore. So I guess I can't say that I won't change my mind down the road, but at this point, I don't have any plans to repurchase those products because I just don't use them, and I don't feel like I really need them to get the nutrition that I want. The next thing is K-Cups. And actually we have this box because my husband still uses our Keurig, and he uses his money to buy his K-Cups because he just doesn't want to give up the convenience of that. But even when I was finding the best deals on K-Cups, generic brand, house brand K-Cups, either in the store or online at Amazon, it still did not even come close to the cost of just a regular brewed cup of coffee like this. Now I know what you're thinking, because I get this comment all the time, that there are reusable K-Cups that you can put ground coffee in, and then you can have the inexpensive ground coffee, but still have the convenience of your Keurig. And maybe they have improved over time, but I remember trying those a few years ago, and I just was not very satisfied with the way they functioned or the way that the coffee tasted. So several months ago, I actually bought a very inexpensive small coffee pot. It's a 5-cup coffee pot. I got it at Walmart for less than 10 bucks, and I have been brewing just regular coffee. This bag cost me just $3.98. So when you divide that by the number of servings that are in this pouch, that's less than 10 cents per cup. Now, if we were people who routinely went to a coffee shop and purchased coffee while we were out and about every single day, then making the switch to K-Cups would make sense, because we were spending anywhere from $2, $3, $4, maybe $5 for a coffee to go out. And K-Cups can be anywhere from 30 to 60 cents per K-Cup. So you're still saving a lot of money if you're making that switch. But for me, after the small investment with my coffee pot, taking it down to just 10 cents per cup or less made a lot more financial sense for me when it came to my grocery budget. Next one is going to come as a pretty big surprise to some of you because it is typically a money saving tip, but for us in particular, it was a place that was busting our budget, and that is buying in bulk. I know that's so shocking because everybody feels like buying in bulk, having a Sam's membership, a Costco membership saves you money in the long run because you can buy more and get a better price per unit, per ounce, or per pound. But when I actually took the time to compare prices of things that we keep on hand regularly in our house, meat, produce, dairy, eggs, pantry staples, at places like Costco or Sam's, wholesale stores, and stores that I regularly shop at like Aldi, ounce for ounce, pound for pound, or unit for unit, places like Aldi and even some other places that I shop came out ahead. And a couple of things would happen whenever I went to those wholesale stores. Number one, I would often impulse buy. I would see other things that I wanted. Sometimes they weren't even food. Maybe they were clothing items, or maybe they were toys or seasonal items, but I would end up buying more than what I went in there for. The other thing is that I would think I saw an incredible price on a particular product, and so I would buy it, but it would be so much that we wouldn't be able to actually use it in a timely manner, and it would end up going to waste, which in turn doesn't really save us any money. So I actually let my Costco membership lapse after 1 year. I didn't renew it, so I don't have a Costco membership, even though we do have one here in Tulsa. And I only have a Sam's membership because it's a work perk, and there are basically 4 things that I purchase at Sam's: paper towels, toilet paper, trash bags, and dishwasher tabs. But where food is concerned, I just feel like I'm better off making my purchases at Aldi or shopping sales and using discounts at other stores in my area. And the last thing that really busts our grocery budget is something that my husband and I are working on because we have noticed it creep back in. And that is extra sporadic trips to the grocery store. I tend to do our food shopping for anywhere from 7 to 10 days. And I usually go in with a plan. I usually have a list of items that we normally have on hand that we're out of and that need to be repurchased. I have a good idea of the meals that I'm making for the week and the ingredients that I need to buy, the things that I need to restock for the children, etc. But we've gotten pretty bad lately about saying, oh, I really want to have some snacks for watching football on Saturday. Or what I had planned for dinner, does it sound really good? I want this other thing instead. And we'll end up going into the grocery store and getting some things, and sometimes getting more than we intended to go for. And these little $10, $20, $30 additional grocery trips, they're adding up in our grocery budget. So we're trying now to kind of scale back on that. And unless it's something that we know we need or something that we know we have the money for in our budget, then we're trying to avoid going back to the grocery store between my big family grocery trips that happen every 7 to 10 days or so. I know everybody has their own thoughts, opinions, experiences, their own needs that are going to inform their decisions about how they shop for their families where groceries are concerned. There are probably people who could come into my kitchen right now and point out some things that I could do differently that would save me money. And then on the flip side of that spectrum, there are probably some people who would look at our grocery budget and think, wow, I can't believe that they do that. I've had those comments before on my channel too. I personally think the important thing is just to be aware, just to know how we're spending our money, to notice if there are things creeping back in, habits that are creeping back into our lifestyles that are affecting our budget, or just continuing to examine the way that we shop and the way that we eat if we are looking to trim a little bit off of that. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I look forward to sharing another video with you guys very soon. Bye.